2, 1.
We'd like to welcome you to another edition of Grok Talk, brought to you by New Hampshire's leading conservative blog site, GraniteGrok.com. We are your feared, extremist, right-wing, hard-charging, gun-toting, opinionated, outspoken, rabble-rousing, letter-writing, radio microphone stomping conservatives and rational libertarians. So get ready for more news and opinion you could only get from GraniteGrok.com.
Grok Talk.
All right, so right out of the gate, I need to buy a backup power supply and leave it here in the office, in the studio, because I forgot mine, and I was doing my newsread this morning with my laptop in the kitchen, so I didn't have my power supply connected, which meant when I got here, I didn't have 3 hours or 2 hours. I had less than an hour of power. So anybody listening on Spreaker or NHCRTheRock.com, the show is going to drop off Spreaker sometime in the first hour, and I apologize for that, but you can go to GraniteGrok.com. The video live stream is up and working, and you can watch the show that way. And when I get home, I will complete the podcast and post that, and you'll be able to listen to that throughout the week. So anyway, welcome to Grok Talk. What of it there is. It's an inclusive internal sort of Grokster sort of show this week. We have Susan Olsen here as our guest host, and we're going to talk about a host of issues with the lovely Susan Olsen. And, of course, we have Skip Murphy on the phone somewhere. I got to find the right button. Hey, Skip, you there?
I am here.
Hey there. All right. And so everybody's on board. Let's turn the music off and save some power. Mike Rogers is in Skip's chair commanding the video. And so here we go. We can start with the news read. Obviously, there are lots of parallels in New Hampshire, which kind of lead us to the first topic that we were going to discuss, which is this week. The ruling class in the committee, the Justice Committee, overwhelmingly, at least with a majority anyway, voted to advance Medicaid expansion, another version, I believe. Is that correct?
Actually, it's the Finance Committee, but I guess they might as
Yeah,
well be
it was the finance
it was
committee.
finance,
swinging the
right.
gavel.
Okay.
But,
Something's in justice this week, and I can't remember what it is.
It was shocking, I suppose, unless you are part of that ruling class, unless you don't stand in that committee room and look at the folks who are seated, because they're all lobbyists of some persuasion or the other. There were very few normal people in the audience, and they all were sitting there with their hands out, and if their hands weren't out, they were in your pocket. So it was an interesting. I know the legislature believes it has to go through the motions, okay, and put on this public display of yes, we're examining. First, it went to Health and Human Services, which was the policy committee, right, to decide whether or not little old Joe LaChance, who is the flag bearer for the establishment, in extending, reauthorizing Medicaid expansion for another 2 years, because, oh my goodness, it's going to expire in December of this year, and all those poor people were going to get dropped off the welfare rolls. So we have to have another 2 years to see whether or not the first 2 years, cost so much money that the state couldn't afford to take it into perpetuity. So passed the policy committee without even a hiccup. Only one vote against it. So it went on to the Finance Committee, chaired by Neil Kirk. Also at the head of the table were Ken Weiler, Lynn Ober, a number of other folks. And they went through the motions, God bless them, of saying, really, are you really going to steal from people? Are you really going to put your children and grandchildren into chains and eternal servitude to, I guess, make look respectable the money laundering that truly is Medicaid expansion? And they voted 18-8. Yes, that's exactly what we're going to do, but we're not going to call it that. We're going to talk about the least vulnerable among us, which includes some 50,000 able-bodied, childless.
The most vulnerable amongst us, I presume they mean.
Well, yeah, I suppose it's.
They're not really.
They're not. No, they're not. They're not. They just happen to be able-bodied, childless adults who, in in the correct world would never have qualified for Medicaid because they're neither truly poor, truly disabled, truly in need of help, and which is what we're supposed to do as a society. So it was a big sham, and watching the committee members' faces, hearing from the hospital association who never provided a straight answer, and listening to members from these various individual hospitals, and listening to the Department of Health and Human Services say these things that were beyond incredible, and everybody in the audience is nodding, and the committee members around the table didn't leap out of their chairs and take the witnesses by the throats and haul them off to jail. It's beyond incredible. So it passed 18-8. It will go to the floor on, I presume, this coming Wednesday or Thursday, because they had to finish in time to get it on the calendar to get to the House vote. So it'll pass. There's no question. And then it'll go to the Senate, and they'll do the same sort of Star Chamber. You know, we're all winking and nudging each other and going, yeah, this is really important. And it'll pass. And there we go. And expanded Medicaid will be written into law forever and ever. Amen.
You mean, by Star Chamber, you mean the one containing our gubernatorial hopeful, the Executive Council, no? Or is it?
Oh, no! In fact, on the 10th of February at the Executive Council meeting, it's if you truly are into self-flagellation, I guess, you look at the agenda, and it's this very nice typed-out agenda on their website, and for each agenda item, there's a hyperlink. Mm-hmm. And if you go to the hyperlink, you can see what the individual documents are, or you can download the whole set of documents for any particular Executive Council meeting.
Is this a 2,000-page thing you were?
Well, it's 2,612 pages, actually.
Isn't that about the same size as Obamacare?
I thought Obamacare was bigger than that. But nevertheless,
well, it is now.
For this particular one Executive Council meeting, there were 2,612 pages of accompanying documentation for them to, I guess they get it that morning maybe, to look at as they go through the items for voting. But in that 2,612 pages, there were 2 pages from the Department of Health and Human Services that increased the amount of money that would be coming in via Medicaid from $600 and maybe $17 million to $619 million. And I'm sorry I didn't bring it with me.
So a small increase.
$4 million chump change. But happily, you will note that in the spreadsheet contained, or the slice of spreadsheet contained in that 2-page letter, there's $4,000 set aside for an audit, so we can be sure that that all of this stuff is going to be audited and documented and made available to the public. So, my goodness gracious, the fix, and whether it's a heroin fix or a fentanyl fix or whatever, the fix is in, ladies and gentlemen. And
like most fixes, it will wear off and leave you with an overhang.
Well, it won't leave the ruling class with a hangover, because
they're all going to be happy.
They never run out of dope.
They're going to put it on their resume. I expanded Medicaid.
Yeah.
You know, they can run around the country like Kasich and proudly wave their I expanded Medicaid flag.
That's right. So. And one of the members of the Executive Council, who is, I believe, a gubernatorial hopeful, is in favor of expanded Medicaid. I mean, a Republican, alleged Republican.
Yeah, and this would be,
guys.
Go ahead.
This would be Frank Edelblut, right?
No.
Sununu.
This is Chris Sununu.
Oh, Chris Sununu on the Executive Council.
Yes.
But, you have to remember, too, Frank Edelblut, who is also looking to run for governor, had expressed great effort, not effort, but admiration for expanding Medicaid expansion.
You would be wrong, Skip. He voted against it, and some of the questions that he posed to the witnesses were the things that we would ask. Like, are you freaking kidding me?
Right.
Although he didn't say that, but the same type of pointed, really trying to get an answer. So, no, I think Mr. Edelblue has, once he got into it and really looked at it, realizes the unalterable damage that this is going to do to New Hampshire and its way of life.
Understood, and I did read that, but he did that after, when he was, although, I'm sorry, I'm mangling my words this morning, folks, but he was for it earlier. I had a couple of phone calls with him. He was tremendously in favor of it, and I'm glad to see he's had the change of heart. Unfortunately, it seemed to be a little late, and not
better late than never,
and not persuasive enough to persuade the rest of the ruling class to do otherwise. It certainly does sound that this whole effort has safely ensconced the Republican Party as being the junior lackeys of the welfare state, headed up by the Democrats once again. I mean, do these guys have a clue as to who they're supposed to be, or do they not care?
I don't think it matters. You need to understand that this whole scheme, this whole Ponzi scheme, which actually isn't a Ponzi scheme because they're all willing collaborators, has been around, and it was instituted by a Republican governor by the name of Judd Gregg. He's the guy that came up with it, and it went on for 20-some-odd years.
This is the hospital kickback scheme.
Yes, this is the disproportionate share and the Medicaid enhancement tax. It was all great until, I guess it was 2013, and what was it Darth Vader said to Lando Calrissian?
I'm altering the deal. Pray I don't alter it further.
Yeah, well, they altered the deal, and the hospitals all of a sudden decided that their ox was being gored. So it's only in the last couple of years that anybody turned this rock over and looked at the deal. So it's horrible. It's horrible. It's kabuki theater. Anybody that believes that anything can be done to change this is probably someone who has a job and a family and works and pays bills and trusts their elected officials to look after them.
And isn't this the reason why, to tie it back to the news read of the reading of Codavia, we see lots of people, ordinary folks, fly over country rebelling against the ruling elite, this political class of all persuasions and parts of the aisle, and voting for people that one would never think would even get a shot at being voted for, because the people are revolting.
Yep. People are revolting. All right, we're going to take a break since we just
I think the politicians are revolting, but not in the same.
Is he still on? Can you check? Call him back.
Skip, you still there?
Hello.
All right, I'll put him on audition. You give him a buzz. We'll take a quick break. This is Grok Talk. We still have music, at least for another 60 seconds or so stay tuned.
Grok Talk.